We're here in the St. Odila Catholic Church in Tucson, Arizona, so close to the scene of last week's tragic events that you could actually hear the shots ring out from this hall. A week ago, a group of people gathered in a supermarket parking lot to do the most American of things, to meet with their elected representative, to share what was on their minds. That parking lot was, until this morning, a crime scene. The meeting, precisely 1 week ago, was brutally cut short. And so I'm here, along with my colleague David Muir, to gather together for the first time since that day so many of the people who were there on the scene at the hospital, to talk and to make sense of what they've lived through, to continue, finally, that very American conversation they set out to have that morning. It was a typical sun-soaked Saturday morning in Tucson, Arizona.
Good morning. It's 10 a.m. on Saturday, January 8th, 2011.
Representative Gabrielle Giffords tweets from her iPad, "My first Congress on your corner starts now."
Gabby is very popular. People want to see her.
20 or so are in the crowd. Among them, retired Army Colonel Bill Badger.
I got a lot of respect for her because of her willingness to meet with the people.
It was to be just that, a simple meet and greet with constituents in a parking lot at a local supermarket. No one really thought it would draw a big crowd, but somehow it did get the attention of a 9-year-old girl willing to forfeit Saturday morning cartoons.
She was jumping up and down and she kept saying, "I'm next, I'm next."
And a 20-year-old intern who'd only been on Gifford's staff for 5 days.
Most of the people who had shown up were pretty excited to get a chance to speak with their congresswoman. There was people who were there to thank her for the work that she had done.
Congress shall make no law respecting...
Ironically, 2 days earlier in Washington, with the new Congress sworn in, Gabby Giffords was asked to recite part of the First Amendment, the one guaranteeing all Americans the right to assemble peaceably. Her Congress on the corner was to be a rational exchange among reasonable people, like supporter Patricia Maish.
That was one of the things I wanted to talk to Gabby about. It's a very sad time in our country that things are so polarized.
But that Saturday morning, last week, a taxi cab pulled into this Safeway parking lot carrying a man with a twisted view.
Kind of shady looking gentleman came up. Then before I knew, he was barging through the tables toward the congresswoman.
A man who seemed to be at war with normal.
I looked over and it was just bang, 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 bang.
The guy had a semi-automatic pistol, and he went in, he just started firing, and then he ran.
I heard people yelling, "Get the gun, there he is."
Is anybody injured? Did you say Gabrielle Giffords was hit? She's hit.
I was about 3 feet from her. I'm just lucky not to be in the line of fire. It was shaken to my core.
You need more than one ambulance, there's more than one person down.
I saw a man with a gun shoot her in the head and then continue firing just point blank at everybody who was in the area. And there was really nowhere to run.
My husband just called me and told me he was shot. He went to the Gabrielle Giffords, whatever they were doing today.
Your husband was shot?
That's what he said. And then the phone went dead.
He was pulling a magazine out of his pants pocket with his left hand, and I was able to grab the magazine.
And when we pushed her, he just went right to the ground. I had to do something. I just couldn't sit there and let this guy go by.
The loss of these wonderful people should make every one of us strive to be better. To be better in our private lives. Their death helps usher in more civility in our public discourse.
By midweek, President Obama came here to Tucson to try to heal the fresh wounds of a grieving and confused community, to honor the fallen, and to try to unify the country.
Let us remember, it is not because a simple lack of civility caused this tragedy. It did not. But rather because only a more civil and honest public discourse can help us face up to the challenges of our nation in a way that would make them proud.
And so Saturday morning, as the scene of the crime became just the Safeway parking lot once again, and Tucson observed a moment of silence a week to the minute the shootings took place. We brought together the community of people most closely affected by this terrible crime for a special town meeting. After the tragedy, an American conversation continues. We hope to begin the honest discourse the president asked for in his speech. We thank the congregation of St. Odilia for hosting us. It is the home parish of two of those who were killed in the shooting. 9-year-old Christina Taylor Green had her first communion here, and Judge John Roll grew up in this parish as well. What I want to ask all of you first is, by a show of hands, to tell me how many of you were either involved at that fateful place at the Safeway, or whether you were involved at the hospital afterwards, or in the immediate aftermath, or whether you know anybody who was involved in that tragic shooting. Show me by a show of hands. So practically the whole room, this whole community has been so touched. And I think I want to ask you, Bill Heilman, what is the lasting impression that you will take away from that day? Your wife had brought 9-year-old Christina Taylor Green.
Indeed she had. She wanted to show a little girl something that she felt had not been possible in her generation by introducing her to Gabby and let her know that that opportunity was there for her too. And it was just a perfect event for that, to do that.
And how is your wife coping?
The emotional side of what's occurred is still sinking in. The extent of the tragedy only really seems to get addressed in very quiet moments when there aren't audiences around. We had our first psych consult yesterday to start dealing with the ramifications of this, and we feel very well supported and appreciative of the hug that America is giving my wife.
Daniel Hernandez, you rushed to Congresswoman Giffords as she was lying bleeding, and by all accounts you really set the stage for saving her life. And a week later, do you think about what it took for you to run towards her even as there was gunfire?
No, because I think really, had it been someone else, I would have done the same thing. Although Gabby is someone who I've admired for years and I consider a friend, I think at this point anyone would have done the same thing for anyone, because it's a human being and you need to make sure that you help those in need.
Patricia Maish, you knocked the magazine out of the gunman's hand, out of Jared Lee Luffner's hand.
That's a little bit of misinformation.
You prevented him from reloading.
I managed to grab the magazine.
What do you remember? What is your lasting memory?
That first shot, and I knew, I'm not a gun person, but I knew it was a gunshot. And then just that tiny space between the first shot and the rest of the shots. It's just, it's in my head. And then deciding to drop to the ground instead of running, expecting to be shot because the woman next to me was the last one to get shot, and instead having Bill and Roger, my guardian angels, knock the guy down right in front of me. You know, I owe them my life.
Colonel Badger?
Yes.
You've got your arm around Patricia. You did something amazing that day, leaping and tackling him and getting him down so that he couldn't get up again.
Well, you know, the thing that I get out of this is the fact that how quick everybody bonded, and just like Patricia and myself bonded as a result of this. But it will be something that will haunt me the rest of my life.
I'd like to go to Mrs. Bowman and Dr. Bowman in the front row here. You were just in the area, you were in the Safeway, and you heard the shots. And your reaction was to rush out to them instead of stay hidden. What did you do, and what will you remember?
We had just passed Congresswoman Giffords and gone into the produce aisle, which is not my favorite section, but and had not been in more than 2 to 3 minutes when the shots rang out very, very quickly, all of them. It was over with probably less than 3 or 4 seconds, just done, seemed. As I got to the front door, a couple people ran in, one gal screaming, "They've shot her, they've shot Congresswoman Giffords," and she had blood on herself running into the store. So I stepped through and stopped behind a pillar, and there were no more gunshots. Colonel Badger had already done his thing by the time I looked around the corner, and the first thing I saw was Daniel with Congresswoman Giffords, and that's sort of where go on automatic mode and started. And I looked back after just 2 or 3 minutes and realized I'd left my wingman. She wasn't there. She hadn't heard me. And they sort of swept her to the back of the store, and she came out very quickly. I looked back and she was working with Judge Roll, and that was the first time I felt calm, maybe, because somebody showed up and was helping, and the more I looked, everyone was helping everyone.
And you were barking out orders, weren't you? You came and really got into the first aid, the triage, and were giving orders to somebody who you didn't even know, who's not even a medical professional.
Well, he was the one barking out the most of the orders. He went from the very beginning of the line all the way to the end, assessing everybody one by one, those that he felt could be saved, and had to come to terms with those that couldn't be saved. I came out and immediately started CPR on Judge Roll, and as I was doing CPR, a bystander, a stranger to me, steps up and says, "I can help, tell me what to do." And I guess that's when the barking started. I told her to start to take over the chest compressions that I was doing. I started mouth to mouth on Judge Roll. And then David came back to us after he had made his initial assessment of everyone and said, "Nancy, you need to stop. You can't, there's nothing that can be done." So I just looked at Judge Roll and I said, I'm so sorry. And David said, "You need to go over and take care of this woman over here. She's awake, she's conscious, she's breathing. She needs your help."